Hey, what's up everyone? Welcome to Notes and welcome to the next video in our ReactJS series. And from today onwards, we will try to understand the fundamental concepts which are written in ReactJS. So we will be diving into the further concepts of ReactJS. So let's get started. So in the previous video, we configured our very first project in React right from scratch by using the Vite package bundler. So in today's video, we will further dive into the concepts. So let me just, first give you a walkthrough of the folder structure which has been created by the Vite package bundler with React. Okay. So viteconfig.js is the file, and this file is just for writing instructions to our package bundler, which is this Vite. Okay. And we won't be spending too much time on this file, but it does exist if you want to give any particular instructions to the package bundler, so you guys can use this vite.config.js. And I usually use wheat and white as alternative pronunciations, but the concept remains the same. It's wheat. Okay. And then we are having the package.json file, which is obviously our dependency management tracking, in which we track our dependencies. So right now we are having only two main dependencies, which is React and React DOM. And these are the only two dependencies which is required for working with React. And we are having some scripts, which is this dev script and build script, which we tested in the previous video. And the third script is obviously the lint one. It is just for making the use of ESLint and formatting all the files according to the ESLint rules you have specified. And we specify all the ESLint rules in this file, which is this .eslint.cjs. So here you can define further rules that how you want the code to be formatted, whether you want to use semicolons or whether you want to use any other settings. So obviously you guys can alter this, and this is specific to ESLint, so we will not be discussing further regarding ESLint. And obviously we are having our index.html, and this is the HTML which is only a single file. And here you can see that we are having only one a div element which is having an ID of root, and then we are having a script tag in which we are referring to our main.jsx file. Okay, so we'll come directly to the extension, that what JSX means. And if you see that it is coming from inside our source folder to our main.jsx. Okay, so if I go into my source folder, here you can see that we are having a file main.jsx, and in main.jsx we are again importing these two things, okay, which is React and React DOM, and we have already installed it as a development as a main dependency in our project. Okay, so these two files are being these two things are being imported in our main.jsx file, and then we are importing some file which is this app.jsx, and this is the component, and obviously we'll discuss components further. And then we are also importing some styling from index.css. And with the help of these all things, we are just creating a root, which is our entry point to our application. We are using React DOM, creating a root, and then we are getting document.get element by id root. And if you see that this is the main root, this is the same id which is coming from this index.html div, and we are getting this id, and what we are telling in this file is that go to that particular div which is having an id of root, and then render these following things in place of that div. So we are just replacing this div with this content right over here, which is this app component. Okay, and for now just ignore this react.strict mode. We will discuss react.strict mode in the further coming on videos. Okay, for now just assume that we are having just this one app component right over here, and you can see that this app component is being imported from /app.jsx. Okay, so if you go to this app.jsx, which is in the same source directory, you can see that we are having a simple function which is returning some HTML. Okay, so this is the concept where JSX gets into entry. Okay, and you can see that the file extension we are using is also JSX. Okay, so if I come over here, you can see that I am having the same layout which was displayed over the web page. We are having the Vite logo, we are having the React logo, and then we are having our first heading and all the other stuff. Okay, so if I run something like npm run dev, we will run this in development mode, and if I open this URL, you can see that we are having all the elements being displayed in place of that div. Okay, so what React did was that React came into this index.html file, grabbed this div element which is having an ID of root, and replaced this div with this app component, and this app component is having all these things which we have given to this React component. Okay, so that's the overall concept. Now here comes the new concept, the very first concept in React, which is this .jsx file. Okay, now what .jsx means is, let me come to my markdowns because I have created some notes regarding JSX. Okay, so JSX stands, it means that we want JavaScript plus HTML is equal to JSX. Okay, so if you further drill down to its definition, it means that JSX stands for JavaScript XML. Okay, JSX is just basically a syntax extension of JavaScript. Okay, so we are just extending the syntax of JavaScript, and that's just known as JSX. Okay, some of the examples I've given right over here. You guys can just go through these examples, but we will be implementing these examples right now. Okay, so if you click on this React JSX, I have complete markdown regarding React JSX, that what is React JSX. Okay, so here from the diagram you can simply see that if I add JavaScript with HTML, that is equal to JSX. Now the question comes here is that why do we need JSX? Okay, you can see that HTML combined with JavaScript, it is JSX, but why do we need JSX? Okay, so there are three total points I've discussed. Number one is that it is faster than normal JavaScript because it performs optimization while translating to regular JavaScript. This is the one reason. And the second reason, which is the most interesting one, is that it makes easier to create templates. Instead of separating markup and logic in separate files, we put everything in same file. Okay, so if you come from any other framework world like Angular, so in Angular we separate our markup file from our main logic file, but React took a different approach. They said that markup and logic should be tightly integrated in a single file. So that's why they came up with the concept of JSX. Okay, so and one of the best thing about JSX is that you can use JSX as an JavaScript expression. Okay, JavaScript expression, we can use JSX inside of if statements, inside of for loops. We can assign them to variables, we can accept it at arguments, and we can also return it from functions, and we will discuss this in our practical demonstration. Okay, so if I come over here, let's try out some JSX and see that how things work. Okay, so let's come to my project, and let's say I'm just deleting everything right from here. Okay, so let's delete everything. Let me just select everything and delete. Okay, and right now I'm just making a heading, and let's say this is my heading. Okay, let me save this thing and let me go to my browser, and you can see that this is my heading, and this is coming right in the center of my web page. And the reason it is coming in center is because we are applying some stylings. You can see that it is coming from app.css. So if I go to app.css, you can see that there are some stylings being applied. Okay, so for now I will just delete these stylings, and I will just delete the import from here. And also I think we are having some stylings in our index.css, which is our root styling. So I will also delete this file from here, and this file is obviously being imported from our main.jsx, so I will just delete it from here. Okay, and now we are having just these two simple files. Okay, app.jsx and the main.jsx, which is our entry point of application. So inside our app.jsx we are having just simple heading, and if you come to my browser, you can see that the heading is being shown and all the stylings has been removed. Okay, so JSX is just equal to XML. If I just come to my markdown, I will just go to my React, and I can see if I scroll down, so JSX stands for JavaScript plus HTML is equal to JSX. Let me just copy this thing and I will paste it over here just for commenting things. Okay, so JSX is just JavaScript plus HTML. We can see that we are using HTML, and you can use any HTML tag inside this function. Okay, it's just a function which is just returning some JSX. Okay, and for now just let me just remove this line because this line is doing nothing right now. Okay, so it's just returning some JSX, and you guys can use many different things, like you can use div, you can use h2 headings, you can use list if you want. Okay, and you guys can use list item inside. So whatever thing is present in HTML, you guys can use all those things right over here. Okay, now it is giving me error is because you can see that JSX must have one parent element. Okay, so one of the things you have to keep in mind is that you want to just return one single element. Okay, right now you can see that we are returning h1 div. Okay, we are returning two different things. Okay, so that's why it is complaining us. Okay, so what we can do is we can just delete all the things, and we can just create one div, and inside this div we can create further headings. Let's say this is heading, and we can create list, so it's unordered list, and list item, let's say it's list item 1. Okay, let me duplicate this, and list item 2, 3 and 4. Let me save this thing, and now you can see that we are only returning one parent element. Okay, and that parent element is having two different child elements. One is h1, and the second one is an unordered list. And obviously you guys can send two different elements right side by side also, but for that you have to use React fragments, and I will not be touching that topic right now because in future videos I will discuss. Okay, so this is the concept, and if I save this thing, you can see that on my browser everything is working fine. We are having the heading, and we are having that list items. Okay, so this is the concept of JSX, that we can display anything related to HTML inside our JSX. But the good part is that with that HTML we can also use JavaScript. And let me discuss that how we can use that. Okay, so let's say that if I let's say if I create a variable here, const title, and let's say this is my title, and somehow I want to use this title which is JavaScript variable obviously, and we want to use this title in my HTML markup which is this JSX. So how can I do that is with the help of these curly brackets. Okay, so what I can do is I can just remove this, and I can just use curly brackets, and inside this curly brackets I can write any JavaScript expression. Okay, so for now I'm just writing title, and if I write title right over here, you can see that it is being displayed on my HTML markup. Okay, so here you can see that I'm integrating JavaScript right into my HTML. So that's the concept, that JavaScript plus HTML, that is equal to JSX. Now this expression can be anything. It can be a function, it can be a variable, or it can be a any other logic if you want to write. Okay, now for those who don't know what JavaScript expression is, let me just clear that concept for you. So if I go to my ReactJS markup, here you can see a JS expression, and if I click on this, you can see an expression is just a set of literals, variables, operators which evaluates to a single value. Okay, there are some examples. One of is that if you want to create a variable, and I know that this variable can only output me one single value, which is this string, and the second one is obviously a function. Inside this function you can see that I'm having a condition: if true, so return this value, and else you have to return this value. And obviously this complete function will return me a single statement: either it will return a true, or either it will return false. Okay, so in this case, since it is true, so it will return me this value. So this test function will be directly will be equal to this is true. Okay, this is true. Okay, so that's the overall concept of JavaScript expressions. Okay, so you guys can use any expressions inside this markup. Let me try out some of the ones, and if you come into my notes, and let me just go to one step back, and you can see that let me just copy this line because I want to discuss all these concepts in this video. Okay, and let me paste it over here. Okay, so let me comment this thing out. So let's comment this thing out, and now you can see that a JS expression is something in JavaScript. JSX is an expression. Okay, so we can use it inside if statements. The very concept is that we can use it inside our if statements. Okay, so let me say that I want to come here, and I want to use our JSX element inside our if statement, inside our for loops, or assign it to variables. Okay, so let's say I want to create let's first discuss this one, that whether we can assign it to variables or not. Okay, so let's say that we want to assign JSX to variables. Okay, so we can say const our heading, and heading is equals to h1, and let's say this is my heading. Okay, and that's it. Okay, so you guys right over here you can see that this is neither HTML, it's not JavaScript, but it is a combination of both. We are using JavaScript as well as HTML right over here. Okay, so this is JSX, and we can use this heading right into my markup. Okay, right over here. So I can just delete this thing. I can use curly brackets, because whether anytime you want to add JavaScript into your this HTML markup, you have to use these curly brackets. And inside this I can directly call my heading. Okay, let's save this thing, and you can see if I go to my browser, you can see that the results are still same. This is my heading is being displayed right over here. Let me just make it side by side so you guys can just see everything clearly. Okay, so that's the overall concept. Okay, we can use JSX inside our variables. If I change something, let's say I'm saying heading 2, and let's save this thing, and you can see that everything is working fine. Okay, so we can assign JSX to variables, and we can also accept it as arguments, or we can return it from functions. Okay, so let's just discuss that how we can return JSX from functions. Okay, so right now I will be using arrow function, but the thing is that it can work with normal functions as well. Okay, so let's say const. Okay, let's say that get title, and this is my arrow function, and this function will just return our title. Okay, so it's h1, and we can say that this is our title. Okay, and we can simply call this get title function inside our main markup. So I will just remove this thing, and right now, and we know that we are embedding JavaScript in our markup, so we need that curly brackets, and inside the curly brackets we can directly call that function. Okay, so we can call this function something like this. Okay, so what this will do is that it will call that function, and that function will return this JSX element, and it will be displayed right over here. Okay, so if I save this thing, you can see that this is our title is being returned from this function, which is JSX, and that title is being displayed in our markup. So we can also return JSX from functions. Okay, and one more thing is that we can also accept JSX as arguments inside our function. So let's say that we can accept JSX in function arguments, and for that we have to just let's say create one function. So let's say const, and let me just find a good name for that. So let's say const add JSX. So we will be adding some JSX. Okay, so this function will add JSX, and it will receive some functionality. Let's say it will receive a paragraph. So I will just call it a paragraph, and after receiving the paragraph, it will just return something like maybe a div, and inside that div we will display that paragraph. And but before displaying that paragraph, we will just display, let's say, a heading that this is paragraph, and after that heading we will be displaying that paragraph. Okay, so this is just a function which is accepting a JSX element or JSX, and that JSX is obviously being displayed right over here, and we are just not just displaying that JSX, but we are just incrementing and adding some extra JSX, which is this heading right over here. Okay, and keep in mind that whether this small brackets are just, I think, optional. If you want to return one single element, you guys can just make it inside this. Let me just format this thing. So this works, but I have a formatter configuration in which I have told that whether there is a single, if there is a single JSX element, so wrap that in this small brackets, and it's a good practice to have that settings enabled. Okay, but if you avoid these small parentheses, so things will still work fine. Okay, so we are having adding some JSX, which is receiving a paragraph element as JSX, and we are just adding some extra information, which is this heading right over here, and we can call this as a simple JavaScript function inside our HTML markup. Okay, so let me just get rid of this function call, and I will add JSX, and inside that JSX we know that we are having attribute which must need to be passed for for this function. So we can just simply pass a paragraph right over here, and I can say that this let me just give it lor epsim. Okay, so we are just having this curly brackets for embedding JavaScript, and then we are calling this function, and inside this function we are passing this paragraph as an JSX. Okay, and that JSX will be received in this argument right over here, and then we will return it with some extra information with this heading. Okay, so let me just save this thing, and you can see as I save this thing, everything is working fine. We are having this heading, this is paragraph, and then we are having the second element, which is this JSX being passed into this function, and that paragraph is being displayed right over here. Okay, so we can also accept JSX in function arguments as well. And let's find something more conceptual. So let's work JSX with if statement. So we can use if statement. So let's say that const display title, and this is one of their functions, and inside this I want to place some, let's say, conditions. Okay, so let's say that we are having that const is admin. Okay, is admin, and it's a boolean, so I can say that it's true for now. Okay, and I want to check that if it is admin, if is admin, so we can just return some JSX. Let's say that we want to display a heading that you are admin. Okay, okay, and if it is not admin, we can just return an h1 with say that you are not admin. Okay, so you can see that we can also use JSX inside our if conditions as well. Okay, so if I just close this thing, if I just remove this one and I call this function which is display title. Okay, and let me just save this thing. You can see that now the string which is being displayed is you are admin. Okay, and you are admin because we are having is admin set to true. If I set this one to false, you can see that you are not admin is being displayed inside our HTML markup. And that's the concept that we can use. JSX can be used with if conditions. Okay, so that's the overall concept. So we can use JSX with if statements, and we can assign it to variables. We can accept it as arguments. We can return it from functions, and we can also use JSX inside our for loops as well. Okay. Now for loops here means the high order function, which is the map function. I will just give you a small overview of this thing, and inside our curly brackets we can write the JavaScript right over here. Okay, so since fruit is being scoped inside this function, what I can do is I can just cut this fruits, and I can make it access to the whole function, and then we can just remove this function because we don't need this function right over here. And if I save this thing, you can see that apple, mango, banana and grapes are being displayed as list items. Okay, and if you want to display these list item inside this list, so what I can do is I can just cut this thing from here, and I will remove these list items and I will paste it over here. So now what will happen is that this unordered list, inside this unordered list we will be having for loop, which is this map function, and for every fruit we will return this list item with the fruit which will be being iterating. Okay, so let me just save this thing, and you can see that apple, mango, banana and grapes are being displayed right over here. Okay, so we can also, I will just make a comment that we can also use JSX in for loops. So we paste this thing, and this is the overall concept. And if I go to my top function, you can see that the fruits array is having the same fruits which are being displayed right over here. So apple, mango, banana and grapes. Okay, so if I change something like, let's say I'm making grapes to some different fruit, let's say avocado, and save this thing, you can see that avocado is being displayed right over here. Okay, so everything is working fine. Okay, so it's a best practice to use for loops or these map functions right into our HTML markup, because we cannot use these HTML markups in our custom functions. So I usually, it's a best practice to use these map functions directly into our HTML markup, which makes things a lot easier. Okay, so these are the overall concepts or overall things which you can do with JSX. And obviously some developers like this thing, some developers don't like this thing, but the one who like JSX is the one who never switches to any other framework. Okay, it's a best practice for React, and it attracts because we are writing everything in a single file. Okay, we are writing the logic as well as we are writing the markup in the same file, which make things very much developer friendly. Okay, so that's the overall concept of JSX. Okay, so this was our first concept in our ReactJS series, which is this JSX, and you guys can read this thing in the markdown. Okay, so we have discussed this. We have also discussed our map function, and we have also used that map function in our HTML markup. Okay, so that's the overall concept. In the coming on videos, we will directly jump to the concept of components, and we will discuss that what components help us and why do we need components in our application. Okay, so hope you liked my content. If you're liking my content, so do like and subscribe the channel. See you in the next video. Thanks for watching.